Uh, Good evening. This is Liz Busquets. Today is October 22nd, 2020. And this is a special meeting of the board to take care of some of the items that we take care of during nationals. And also to discuss the Stockdog committee response to a directive that we sent them. So the first item, today, Denise, Gina, Jan, Jean, Judy, Rachel, Rick, Warren, and Carol, and myself, Liz, are present. Kayla is also here. So the first item on the agenda is the recognition of the 2020 finalists in the Aussie Times. So we have been discussing this for some time. So I guess I'm just gonna go around and see what are everybody's thoughts on how to do this. Because there was a question of how many pictures and all of that. So let's start with Denise.
So are we, I'm sorry, Liz, we're talking about the finalists for the
80.
2021.
Not for the Aussie Times.
Okay. I think we talked about putting their pictures in there. Is that true? And
Correct.
yeah. And I think that that's about all we can do is list them from the highest to the, I think we were talking about doing the top 10 and from the highest and then the top 10. And the same thing with MBA was be the first and that's on the front cover or something. So I think that's all we can do is list what they've done and all their pictures, their dogs' names, and hopefully have some, I don't know if they have candid pictures or not of during the finals of different dogs that are going, if there's space in the Aussie Times for that.
I don't know, but it all depends, right, on how many we decide that are going to go into the,
right,
whether it's the first 10, the first 20, whatever. So I guess we have to decide what we think.
Well, I think we give placements down to top 10. And so I think those should be the ones that are the most capitalized on. And if there's room for more after that, then we can decide how to use that. I think that's all I have right now. But I agree with the how they did the covers front and back that are already exist.
Yes.
Okay.
So Gina?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much of an opinion on this one. It's, I'm fine with the top 10. I don't know if we could actually get all the qualifiers in there. So yeah, I would be good with just the top 10. That's it.
Okay. Jan?
Hi, I did some calculations because, as Judy brought up, a great idea that it should be a percentage. And so for stock, it would be like 33% would be the top 10. So my suggestion would be that we put 33% of the results in picture form in the regular standard nationals, the smaller picture. I don't know if we need to define the size of the picture, and list all the other qualifiers. So that's my suggestion.
Okay, so you're thinking 33% across the board to all the programs, whatever the number is.
Yeah, because that would give agility more. The obedience wouldn't take up as, they would have lower numbers in their groups because they're like around 10, or I don't have their numbers in front of me. So it would just make it more even for all the groups and for agility and their efforts. Thanks.
Okay. Jean?
Yeah. So the recognition would be the content in the March, April issue, which is reserved for nationals and finals results. I agree with 33% for agility. But I believe that the top 10 for obedience and rally should be listed, because that's pretty much all there is. Like, they don't really even have, you know, their alternates rarely even get mentioned. So I don't think we really need to. I mean, we might mention that the pictures be the same size as what we do for the merit, right? Because we put pictures in of all the merit dogs for all the different programs. I mean, that we do regularly. So it would be the same sort of format. And like I said, I agree with giving agility 33%, but I don't believe in restricting obedience and rally to 33%. I just think it should be the top 10 or whoever their qualifiers are. I mean, often Super Dog is only like 6 dogs. So, you know, I mean, and that's the total. And I, you know, I think that's a great solution. I will say that I don't believe that we need to vote on this. I don't think it's an emergency. It can be handled in November, and it would still give us plenty of time for notification for these people and for Cynthia to get the pictures. And so that's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Judy?
The reason I suggested a percentage for everybody was because I don't really think it's fair to recognize every qualifier in one program, but not every qualifier in another program. If we recognize the top 10, we're recognizing half of the rally finalists and all of the obedience finalists, yet only a sixth of agility and only a third of stock. And all those people put in the same amount of time and effort to get to finals. So I believe it should be a percentage all the way across, or we try to put all of them in. I don't know how that, you know, how many photos. Again, we should hear from Cynthia how many photos she could take, because at one point, I believe in the one email, she said we could do them all. So if that's what we need to do, so everybody gets recognized, then that's what we need to do. But I think the top 10 is not really fair to programs with more people that are finalists and heavily weighted towards people who, or towards programs who don't have as many finalists. That's just my opinion. Thanks.
Thanks, Judy. Rachel?
I'm actually in agreement with Judy and Jan on this one. And I think it would be better to have more information from Cynthia before we discuss this any further. And like Jean said, since we have found out that we have time, I would think that this would need to be postponed until November. But the main thing is to ensure that everyone that were finalists in each of the programs get recognized appropriately. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thanks, Rachel. Rick?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the top 10 in each venue ought to be recognized. That way it keeps it consistent across the venues. And that's just what I think. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Warren?
I actually don't have a preference. I'm hearing the arguments for percentage and for strict count, and they both seem very reasonable to me. But not being so familiar with the issue, I think I'm happy to have nothing to add.
Okay, thanks, Warren. Carol?
Yeah, I think I agree that whatever we decide to do, it has to be consistent across the board. I think we need Cynthia's input, because if they can do all, if she says we can do everybody, I mean, I would think, I know, like, and I'm most familiar with stock, but there's dogs that are going to be, you know, that would have been like finals qualifiers in more than one stock. So I think you could just have one picture and list what they qualified in. They wouldn't have to have multiple pictures, but I think it would go create a lot of better goodwill if everybody could be in there, if there is a space to do it. But I also agree, I think we need to have Cynthia's input before we make a final decision. on this. So that's all I've got.
Okay, thanks.
I think Cynthia gave her best guesstimate
Yes,
in
that's
that
what I was gonna
proposal.
say.
So I was
Yep.
gonna say, I don't know what else to ask her. So go ahead. Sorry, Liz.
Yeah, she said we could do them all, but it's probably gonna take more pages than the issue usually takes, right? Because she thinks that the pictures have to be a certain size, to really be worth, putting them in. And so it's just a matter of whether we'll want to spend the extra money to put everybody in there or not. That's what it all amounts to. And we don't have to make a decision today. I mean, we can, sit on it until next month and think about it. Um, it's difficult for her to say how much it's going to be also because it's not something that can be easily measured. At least that's what I got from what she wrote. So um, uh, uh, I'm basically inclined to for now say that it would be preferable to put them all in. But if that was not possible, I would probably be more likely to want probably the top 10 in each. But I'll think about it. Anyway, we can think about it a little longer and just make a decision in November if that's okay with everybody. And then if that's so, then we can go on to the next item. Everybody happy with that?
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Yep, that's good.
That's good.
All right. So the next item on the agenda is just getting a date for the new release form to be required to make a valid entry in all our events. So there have been a couple of dates thrown out, December 15th or January 1st. So it's just a matter of picking one and just probably making a quick motion to that effect. So I guess I'm gonna go around real quick and you guys can tell me what you prefer. Denise?
I would think that if we're just putting out a date on that, January 1st might be a good date because it's the beginning of the year instead of the middle of a month. But it doesn't really matter to me. But I kind of think that would be a little bit more obvious for everybody at the beginning of the year. Thank you.
Gina?
Yeah, I agree with Denise. That's what I was going to say. January 1st, I think would probably be best. That's all I have.
Okay. Jan?
I think the January 1st, but I would also like the option that we can maintain the old, the COVID release that's on the forms now, because they look very similar. And I believe they're similar. If people choose to sign that one, it still covers ASCA and the affiliates. So if that's a possibility, I would say the January 1st, and that would be my best dream. Thank you.
Okay. Jean?
January 1st is fine with me, but we have the new release up on the website right now.
Yep.
Is that correct?
I
So
believe
people
so.
are already transitioning to them, correct?
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
a matter of making the transition kind of like, because you
This
know
is
how
the
people
date.
are.
Yep.
They
Yep.
they print out a whole bunch and they have them for the next, 2 or 3 events or
Right.
whatever. So
Yeah. So, they're available elsewhere. That's great. And then we just make it, you must have them by January 1st works for me.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Judy?
Yeah, I'm with January 1st. And the only thing I'd like is some way to note that they're different, like underline the very first sentence, the top of something, or put the signature at the top. I don't care what it is, but they look so much like the one we have that as a trial secretary, I don't want to have to read every single one and locate that passage that's different. So I'd like them to be designated in a way that I can know as soon as somebody sends me an entry, oh, yep, that's the new one. Like right now, you can tell the difference between the old one and the new one. But from version 1 to version 2, it's, again, it's pretty tough. So I'd like some way just to designate that this is the new, like maybe the date.
Don't they have
January 1st.
revision? Oops, I'm sorry.
I may have like a revised in a year, but I'll check on that.
Don't they have, yeah, I thought they had revision dates on them.
Yeah, I'll check on that with Ray. Are you done, Judy?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Rachel.
1/1/21 is good for me. Thank you.
Okay, Ray.
I'm good with the recommendation. Thank you.
All right, Warren.
Yeah, I like 1/1. I do like the idea of making it really clear. I'm wondering even at the very top, you know, we say release and we could say effective 1/1/21 right there on the very top, because I do think as a secretary, there's a lot going on, and maybe we're not going to be too observant. So I'm good either way, though.
Okay, thanks. Carol.
Yeah, I think 1/1/21 is great also. And I did like Judy's suggestion to make it somehow obviously different so that we aren't having to read that whole thing.
Okay, so I'm good with 1/1/21 as well. So if somebody wants to make a quick motion, we can get this done.
I move that the new revision of the COVID release will be effective January 1, 2021.
I'll second that, Denise.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Jan, seconded by Denise, to set the date to require the new release form on the entry forms on 1/1/21. Any further discussion? Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
I just looked at the rally entry form on the
Yeah.
website. There is no revision date on it anywhere.
Okay.
And I don't know
So-
which form is up there. So
Yeah.
that's why I'd like it clear. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll talk to Ray and see what can be done to put something in there that'll make it clear. Okay, so what is this? So okay, so the budget, 2021 budget, and that's you, Warren. Take
Yeah,
it.
thank you, Liz. You know, I think we went through it last week. You know, Rachel had a comment, and I took the time during the week to scrub it a little bit. I did get a chance to you know, to give Ray one last chance for any questions or comments he had. I made a few small revisions, clearly with you know, what Rachel pointed out was really an undercounting of the expense for printing and reproduction. So I upped that. So we're using 2019 as the baseline, and it does increase the loss. I did upload that to the board files so that we can all see it. I'm not surprised by the loss. It's certainly you know, not what we want to do, but we're in better shape. I think we'll be in better shape than 21 than we are in 20. And I do think if you know, a few other things we do come out positive, right now we have some pretty conservative estimates for program revenue, and so I think there's maybe some room there. But at this point, I'm ready to submit the budget, and unless there was any objection, I would make a motion that the board accept the budget as presented.
I'll second it. This is Gina.
There's a motion on the floor by Warren, seconded by Gina, to approve the 2021 budget as presented. Any further discussion? Okay, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. All right. So now we go, I guess we can go ahead and talk about these last two together since they are somewhat related, right? So we have the Stockdog Committee response to the directive and a revision of the finals entry fees, which is an ongoing topic at nationals, but also came up during their, in the response that the Stockdog Committee sent to the board. So I guess, I don't know whether you guys want to vote on this or not, but we should have an idea of where everybody's at with the many options that they gave us. So Denise?
Oh boy, this is the big one. And I have to say I am very impressed with the way the Stockdog Committee came back on this. The letters were a little lengthy, but the explanations were good. I am in favor of several of the options that they have proposed. One of the things that I was comparing it to the 2019. Our judges cost us just over $8,000, and that did not include their transportation. So having 6 judges is very expensive, and I think some of the items that they've talked about are they make quite a bit of difference if we change them, and some are not quite as obvious. But I do believe that this reducing it to 3 judges rather than 6 is probably one of the most important ones. I know that it's not always real popular because everybody has their preferences, but when the draw is done at the general membership meeting, everybody will know who the judges are going to be, and if they choose not to show under them, then they just don't. Or you can maybe I thought maybe there could be a little bit of revision on the procedure of making a draw for the judges and then submitting the 6 or the 9 names that you pull out and submitting them to a vote from the membership, the finalists, and picking the top 3 from that, something to that effect. But I do think that reducing the number of judges from 6 to 3 is a good thing. I also like increasing the entry fees, respectively by event, like cattle, sheep, and duck, using those figures that they have, instead of all paying the same amount. I was going to have all this down together at one time. I do think also that increasing the 25 cents for stock to either $1.25 or $2, whichever you think is best, is good. We put that 25 cents in place years ago when the entry fees for confirmation and obedience were $10, and now they're $15 and $20. So I don't think it's out of the realm at all to increase them to 50 cents and the stock to increase theirs. Same thing. Their entry fees have gone up quite a lot, and the cost of expenses and everything has. So I don't think raising that up, you add $1 or $2 onto the entry fee so that everybody pays a little bit, and it comes out in the end to help everything an awful lot, I think. So that's on the per run fee that they were talking about. Let's see. What else? There was something else on here too. When I talked about reducing the amount spent on certain gatherings associated with finals, like the welcome banquet, I don't think that is a whole lot of money. For one thing, the welcome banquet started out years ago, I think. I believe that started at the first Waco, and when it was privately funded, and then just kept on. And it might have been for the Stockdog portion, but it's now for everybody who comes to nationals. So I don't think that really adds to the finals expense at all. The receptions can probably be whittled down a little bit. There are places, and then there was also one about reducing the number from 30 to 25. And I can say that I don't think that's a good idea. I think that finals are supposed to increase the number. We want to increase the number of people that come to finals, not reduce it. And the amount of money that you spend on reducing, the amount of money that you lose in entry fees and the amount of money that you spend on stock really doesn't warrant the change. So I don't think that would not be an option for me. I want as many people as possible to be at those finals. And so I think leaving it at 30 is a good idea. And I think that keeping all of the livestock for the whole week is the best idea for them. Like I said, I've done this 4 times, and we've done it both ways. And it's much less expensive if you bring them all in at one time and you leave them all week and run them twice a day instead of 4 times a day. And some of them with trials, some of the trials that don't fill, you don't even run them twice. Even that, there's several of them that barely even get run. So just depends on how that works out. But I would be in favor of that. Because the shipping is usually astronomical. In California, the shipping charges to come in and unload, bring a fresh load is pretty expensive. We only had to go 10 miles in Bakersfield the first time in 2012. And I think our shipping fees for that were like $800 or $900 just for 10 miles. So I would suggest leaving the stock there all week and using them for everything. And I think that's about the bottom of the ideas that I had on there. I don't think that reducing the number of stock portions of them there again, I don't think it makes all that much difference, especially certainly having half the stock there is cheaper, but then when you have to run 4 times and I don't think that really washes out. So I think that that's where sponsorship money, certainly am in favor of that. I'm not in favor of the finals being in one permanent location, unless we can't find another position. So that's pretty much where I stand, but I really want to stress that I think the Stockdog Committee did a fabulous job coming up with so many ideas that are have been in front of us for all these years. And so I think that we should try these options, see how they work, and then if we have to readjust some things, going on. And I do think that the entry fees for all of the finals need to be increased. They had I don't have that sheet with me right now, but I know that they had said like confirmation obedience rally would be like $15 more. There again, that's not anything that's not doable on a budget, but it makes a difference in the bottom line. Everybody doing a little bit. So as many items as we can do that way with more people doing small amounts to increase the income to finals, that's what I'm in favor of. So those are my points for the most part. So thanks so much to the Stockdog Committee, and thank you.
Thanks, Denise. Gina?
Yes, I would like to also thank the Stockdog Committee. I think it was an excellent presentation of all the various possibilities, and I really loved the sheets where you could plug different numbers in. I am not sure. I think we first of all need to decide, do we want to break even or do we want to make a profit? Because that depends upon the choices I would make. Like I said in my email, I would like to see an exhibitor payback for all of the programs. And if we do something like that, then we would pick different options. I would also like to see a reserve in the finals fund. And then after we meet the reserve, then do an exhibitor payback. But with that in mind, I would choose the option 8, changing the per run fee to $1.50. Option 9, changing all other programs to 50 cents. And this could go towards an exhibitor payback. Also increasing, I believe it was option 7, increasing the finals entries to 100 for ducks, 120 for sheep, and 150 for cattle. They are getting 2 runs each. So, you know, that helps. And I do think we should increase all the other programs, the entry fees for finals. So that's all I have. Like I say, I would really like to see us have a reserve and have an exhibitor payback for all programs. I think it would go a long way in promoting finals, and I think it would help with program revenue throughout the year. I'm definitely against cutting the stock, and I'm definitely against running them more than once. So thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks. Jan, sorry. Jan.
Dan? Hi. I agree with Gina that about we need a plan. Do we want to make it a money raiser? Do we want to be able to give back? And I think the entries and a payback is a great idea. I think the finalists spend a lot of money to get there. And that was the original plan when we went to this, was that eventually maybe we could. And obviously with COVID, it's not happening. And maybe we could look at that as a separate topic. Of the items, the 30 dogs down to 25 was one that I felt would be like number 1. I'm not excited about the 6 judges to 3, but looking at the budget, it is the most beneficial for the cost to be broken down evenly. And I would like to see that, oh, watch him, he's tangled. Sorry, old dog in a cord. The old, now I lost my train of thought. That's not good. All right, I've lost it, sorry. The 3 head is an option, would be like my 3rd choice. But, oh, I know where I was. I was on the 3 judges. The 3 judges, I would like the Stockdog committee to try to figure out a criteria that actually might even out the flow, so that we either get more participation, figure out why judges aren't putting their names in the hat, or some kind of things like that. So if we do go with that one, I would hope that they would consider something. The extra fees for the per run, the increase to all events and to the stock, I believe that $1.50 increase in the 50, I think that's something we should do. Those 2 have not been changed since 2014. And if you look at other organizations, they are taking more than that amount of money for processing and things like that. And finally, if there was another thing, would be to go down to 3 head. We trial all year on 3 head. It would just decrease the numbers. And my advocacy is, as much as I like all these venues and Texas, is housing in between the trial and making sure that the livestock has enough room to move around and get to food, get to water as they want it, is still an issue for me. That when we're housing that many, that we could get into a situation that would be difficult if somebody from not the stock background came. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Jean?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. For what it's worth, pretty much agree with everything that Gina said. And when I look at the research that was done and the opinions and the, the opinions and the input that they got from the competitors in the program. And I remember actually when the event membership dues fee was reduced to 25 cents across the board for all the programs, and that the Stockdog people, we begged for it to just stay the way it was. Let us continue to pay the higher price with extra money going because of, as was alluded to in the letter, the inequities involved in the costs associated with the different programs and the resentments that causes sometimes. So, I mean, I kind of look at this whole thing as like a two-parter. Like, what can we do right now to help us for the next year, 2 years? And what do we need to do going forward once we identify what is our actual purpose with finals? As Gina said, is it to make a profit, or is it to showcase people who have worked hard all year long and to basically not lose money so that we can show off our dogs? And I still remember back when Warren first joined the board, and he used the word putting on a specialty is like putting on a party for your family. And I love that analogy because to me, that's really what it is. It's supposed to be a celebration of our dogs and what they're doing. So I think once we identify honestly what it is that ASCA is looking for when we are doing finals, I think then our path as far as money is concerned becomes maybe a little more clear. But my immediate preference or action item would be to increase the event membership dues as was suggested, and increase the entry fees. I mean, I've heard that also from numerous competitors that they don't have a problem paying more if they can have quality stock. They don't care if it's free if the stock aren't going to be any good, and I'm not saying that anybody's ever was not good, but what I'm saying is for them, it's worth it. And as Gina pointed out, they're getting 2 runs. So 2 runs on a weekend easily cost you, $150. So, those would be the 2 things that I think that the board could do right now that would help our bottom line. I don't know that we could put this in effect for 2021. I don't see why not, honestly. And because they're administrative changes. And to me, that would help us out like right now. And then the other items, looking at judges, looking at, I would never vote for, and I hate to use the word never, I would more than likely not vote for reducing the number of stock or reusing them 4 times, because ever since that rule was passed, I've been adamantly against running stock 4 times. That's a personal preference that affects my decision making, of course. So that's where I'm at with that. I don't see that there's much great value in reducing the number of runs by 5. I just don't see that as a very cost-effective measure. As far as housing livestock is concerned, if we look at facilities that have the room, I don't see that as an issue. I've been, Denise, I went to your first nationals, Denise, in 1992. That was my first nationals. I've been to many of them, and I've never, not that it hasn't happened. I don't recall ever any real complaints from any member of the public about housing. Not that it can't happen, but I just I don't think reducing the number of stock is something that is really a cost-effective thing right now either. But I will say this, here's a hugely unpopular opinion. I think if we got eliminated ducks from finals, that would save us money and save us, like, what do you do with ducks after finals? and who wants to raise 200 ducks. That
Good
is the
job,
objective.
Jane. Amen.
Well, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not very cost effective. I get that people trial on them all year long, and it's part of the witch, and I get that. But that is probably the stock that, you know, maybe isn't hardest to find, but it's certainly hard to house, and it's certainly hard to find placement for after the event. And even raising them. I mean, I don't know any professional duck farmers, maybe some ranchers, maybe some people do. And maybe we could, you know, maybe that's a market somebody needs to get into. Hey, I'm going to provide ducks for ASCA every year. I don't know. But anyhow, sorry for being so long-winded. I'll stop, and thanks for listening.
Thanks, Jean. Judy?
Yeah, Jan brought up one of my main concerns, and while Jean doesn't think it's a big issue, I still do. Housing and keeping that amount of livestock in a place, I mean, that's prevented us from getting other national sites right now, because we simply don't have the room to house 180 head of cattle. Now, I believe according to I can't find the chart right now, but according to the chart, if we go down to 25, even though it's just those 5, that cuts us down to, I believe they said 125 head. That may not be a huge reduction, but if that allows us to house those animals in more comfortable situation and still provide the contestants with, you know, fresh stock each go round, I am all for that. I'd rather see that. My second choice is to cut the number of judges. As somebody who competes in other programs, and as a person who's competed in the Stockdog program, I never understood how you could qualify under a single judge, but yet you needed 6 to judge finals, especially when you throw out the top and the low. Then why are they there? That's silly. So I am all for going to 3. The other thing is those have been, or the 3 judges have been proposed for quite a while. This is nothing new. So I think, again, it may be unpopular, but it's unpopular no matter where you go. In agility, we only get 1 judge. We don't even have a choice. So we know going in for that competitive year whether we want to go to finals or not because of the judge. Well, it's going to be no different in stock, but I don't believe it's going to affect that many people. I am all for raising entry fees back to what they were before we dropped them to 60. I'm also good with raising stock dog fees more because yes, they get 2 runs and sometimes they get 3 runs for the weekend for $60. I don't know where they can trial for that kind of money. So I'm all for raising theirs back up to a level that would associate 2 runs a weekend at a regular trial. I am not really for boosting the event membership fees because I don't believe in taxing our entire membership to put on an event for a very small percentage of people. I don't see finals as a moneymaker. I do believe it is something we should provide, and we should try to break even if at all possible. And I believe just instituting those first 3 things will help make that possible. Because if we're going to raise the entry fees for everybody, I don't really see why we need to tax everybody who competes in all of our programs. And it may not seem like much, but if you have good entries at a show for a weekend, it adds up. So I'd rather see the other things done first. That's my main thing. Thanks.
Thanks, Judy. Rachel?
Well, I sent you guys my preferences earlier today so that you could understand where I am. And first off, I'd like to thank the Stockdog Committee for providing these excellent choices to us. It took a lot of work for them, so thank them for that. My number 1 is reducing the entries to 25, and number 2 is reducing the judges to 3. Do those things simultaneously. That will reduce the expenses quite a bit. I do understand that cutting back to 3 judges is controversial. Some people will be happy about it, others will not be. But the contestants know who is going to be on the judge panel before they begin the year's track to finals, so they can choose if they want to run under those judges or not. The next thing is the final fees. I think that they need to go back to 2013 levels. And in 2013, we had confirmation at $60, obedience at $30, juniors at $15, rally at $25, and stock, and it was for each entry that you made was at $90. I realize that the Stockdog committee said that they are willing to pay more. If they really are willing to pay more, that's fine. But I believe that all of the finals needs to be raised back to at least that level. In terms of the finals events fees, I'm suggesting that it be raised 50 cents in each venue across the board. I do not believe that finals is a money-making proposition. I believe it was break even, but originally, and as Jan said, one of the thoughts was that if we could make enough money on the event fees and the entry fees, that at some point in time we may be able to offer finals at a very reduced or free event to the people that had competed all year. And then that may not happen for a few years, but I think that was ultimately our goal. And I think that was one of the reasons that it had been held at the same price now for several years. And that was because ASCA could afford it. Well, unfortunately, times have changed. And so right now and for the foreseeable future, we need to look at where we can cut costs. And number 3, and this would be the last ditched effort that I would make, is reducing the stock to 3 head. It would be 3 head for cattle and sheep, and ducks would stay at 5. And that's only if reducing the entries and reducing the judges did not provide a sufficient cost reduction. That would be last ditched effort. I think that is all I have. Again, I would like to thank the Stockdog Committee, and I hope that the board will be able to make a decision for this for 2021. Putting this off for years really will not do us any good. So I believe that this needs to be implemented in 2021. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. Rick?
Yes, thank you, Liz. I'd like to first just thank the Stockdog Committee as well as some of you have. They did, as far as I'm concerned, a tremendous job, and they did what we asked them. With that being said, I am a little disappointed of some of the comments that were made regarding how the committee handled the directive. It really disappointed me. With that being said, I'm going to withhold any kind of recommendation just because I don't want anybody to perceive that I am pushing what am I trying to say? I don't want anybody to perceive that I'm pushing one of these items on the board that the Stockdog Committee wants. I think they did a fantastic job. They gave us lots of options. They gave us some good ones. They gave us some poor ones, and I agree. But with that said, I'm going to withhold any comment from here, and I'm going to leave it to the experts. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Warren?
I thank you. Yeah, I think I can, support what everyone else said. The work that Dan and the Stockdog Committee did was just fantastic. I remember back, I think early September, there was some emails saying we'll get some great ideas, and then somehow we had to wait so long, and it seemed like it took forever. But now that we have the product, clearly a lot of thought and a lot of work went into it, research on pricing, research on some of the options. It's really, putting it in spreadsheet format, really, really helpful. So going to the spreadsheet and the options, when this directive, I think when it first popped out, we were pretty specific. Let's reduce stock. The reasons for reducing stock, number one, there is the cost. But I think I've heard this in different flavors from different people and from people who understand the situation much more than I do. but there is an animal welfare aspect to this. And when I hear people say going, from 5 head to 3 head per run will put more stress on the stock, I think we have to consider that as realistic. When I hear people say holding 180 cattle in a small spot for a week or 10 days puts stress on them, makes sense to me as well. So really, how do you do it then? And to me, cutting the number of runs is therefore the way to reduce stock without increasing stress on the remaining stock. So very, very much in favor from the animal welfare aspect of reducing the number of runs. The other options that were produced and with the numbers that are there, I haven't double checked them. Like I said, it seemed like Dan did a great job, but yeah, moving to 3 judges, someone else mentioned it. We get 1 judge all year. Why do we need 6 all of a sudden? And I understand judging is subjective. And I used to do confirmation with my corgi, and you can be really sure there are certain judges I never went back to. That's just the way it is. And we all have that option. We can go to a judge or not, but you get the 2 go rounds at least, so you're not stuck with 1 single judge. I don't think that's the worst thing. I would like to reduce the judges. It seems like it's an extravagance, frankly, to me. And then the 2 options of raising fees on the individual entrants to finals. Gina, sorry, I did attribute it to Gina in the email, but Gina, your idea of, if this starts to create a surplus, we can give it back, starting at the top and then moving down, give it back as a refund of fees. That just sounded so awesome. We're not in that place right now. The budget for finals for 2021 does not create a surplus. And so therefore we don't have money to give back. But if we implement these changes and we get into that position, what a wonderful thing to do. Thank you guys for putting on a great event. You, the contestants with your dogs, you're the ones who are the star of the show, and we can start recognizing that in part. So I love that idea. And yeah, the tax is tough, in terms of raising the per entry fee throughout the year. But at this point, we need revenue. We spent a lot of time this summer talking about various ways to generate revenue. The only thing we could implement was the virtual, and we know that the revenue there is not substantial. The options that Dan put forward, both with stock and with all entries, those are relatively huge amounts of money. Those will change 2021. We probably can't put them in effect for 1/1, but they will change succeeding years if we do raise those. So I'm thinking very strongly that raising those fees makes a lot of sense. I will say I think it's the first item that's come before the board where I got individual solicitations, private emails saying raising the fees makes sense. So, of course, nobody wants to pay extra, but we need to do it at this point. We can't have the club go under so that we can put on a finals. At the same time, I don't want to take advantage. I'm not trying to make it money making, but yeah, so reducing the stock, I think that's number one. That's why we put this thing out there. And the only viable way to reduce stock here is to reduce the number of entrants. Increasing the revenue and reducing the judges, I'm totally in favor of those. Thank you, Liz.
Thanks, Warren. Carol?
Yeah, so I am on the Stockdog committee, and everybody, we did spend a lot of time on it, obviously, and we did solicit a lot of information from a big variety of people. So, and I was glad that we could have so many options. I really think that it's going to be a combination of the options. It's not going to be like we're going to do 1 or 2 things and that's going to make it come in the black. I do think that it should be a break-even program. And I think everybody thinks that. Nobody thinks we should run this at a loss. But I also think this is not just stock, but the finals for everything. It is the showcase of our breed. And we should try make every effort to have it exemplify that. Going on the list of the 9 things, I don't think I mean, when you say you haven't raised entry fees for since 2014, it's pretty straightforward to everybody. And while none of us like to pay more, pretty much everybody was in favor of increasing the entry fees and the event fee. And it would make a significant difference. So we're definitely in favor of that. I think reducing from the 30 to 25 seems like a small thing of qualifiers, but it does reduce the number of stock that you're going to have. And we are going to have to, and I mean, I come from a stock background, and we've done a lot of demos and herding demos and in the big cities, which is like Portland, which is totally different than a stock background. And people are very concerned, I guess would be the word I would use, about what kind of care you're taking of the animals and what's happening with them and stuff like that. And we don't want to wait until we have someone make a complaint, because once you're in that ballpark, I've been down that road. Once you're in that ballpark, you're working really hard to get yourself dug out, because you always end up looking like the bad guy, regardless of what the situation was. So we want to make an effort to say, be proactive and make it as good as we can. Not just, yeah, we know they're getting fed, we know they're getting water, but what does it look like to people who don't know livestock? Does it look like we're cramming them all in under the bleachers, or does it look like they have some adequate space? So even though the going from 30 to 25 seems like a small number, 5 runs, it does reduce our numbers. The other thing I would say about that, and it's something we address later, but I know in Texas, because I've been there is a lot of space out behind, and I don't know if we can use it, if we have, it's part of the fairgrounds, if they'd let us use it or not, but it's something to look into. That's a different topic, but just, and I think we should down the road. Definitely when we talk to people, reducing the number of judges from 3 to 6. I mean, there's going to be some people that are, and I'm one of those personally, that would be somewhat hesitant with that. I believe, like Denise, that we need to, maybe revisit how we pick the judges if we're doing that. But the general consensus is, they have a reputation to uphold too. And if they are not going to be fair, let's say, then it's going to reflect on them, because when you have 3 judges and you aren't throwing any scores out, everybody's going to know how everybody judged. So I think we have a good judges. We have a good judging system. I think people are responsible. I think people are getting more responsible. So I definitely, and it would be a huge savings or way that we could balance the budget. What else do I have in here? One of the other things that came up was I saw some discussion about the funding for the awards banquet and for the welcome banquet, but I really would hope that we could urge people, find sponsors to help fund those events tied into finals, and maybe that can help defray some of that expense. So probably reducing the number of head. I will have to say, I don't really have an opinion about the duck thing myself personally, but I will say, I do know, because I raised ducks for dog trials, they are expensive. They are expensive. So I don't know if we really want to go down that road, but I thought it was interesting, the comments about reducing or getting rid of the ducks, because they are expensive to raise, they're expensive to hold, they're expensive to feed. And like you said, what do you do when nationals is over with them? It's kind of like, anyway, I guess that's probably all I have to say about that. And yep, I'm good to go.
Okay, thanks, Carol. So so here's where I'm at. I think that the things that we can do to immediately see some changes in the profit loss column. Um, First of all, let me say, I think that finals should be just, break even should be the target. And if there's more, I love the idea that Gina brought up. Um, Giving back to the contestants will be the thing to do. We also have to keep in mind that since ASCA now has nationals, it is possible that we'll be able to you make sure that we are still on the positive side, even if we just break even on the finals. So first of all, I think that the SDC did a great job. I was really happy to see that they went to the membership. They came up with all these different options, and I was really happy with the end product. So kudos to them. So I think that reducing the number of contestants to 25 from 30 is a good idea. I think that we will need fewer animals, and that will always help. Not only, like you said, in the with the cost, but also with the space and the welfare concerns that some of the directors and other people have brought up. The other thing is the 3 judges rather than 6. I have never understood they why they had 6 judges. I mean, everybody else gets either 1, or a confirmation gets 3, rally gets 2. I just I think, like Warren said, it is kind of an extravagance at this point, and I think that the contestants know ahead of time who they're going to be and whether they want to campaign for that year or not. The confirmation people do the same thing. The agility people know who is going to be, and they make their decisions as well. They only get 1. So so I'm all for that. The entry fees, I also think they could be increased. I'm not sure that I agree with the with the with the amount of the increase that the SDC brought up. I think that that's a lot to change all of a sudden. But I think that they should be increased across the board, and of course more to Stockdog, of course, because they it's more expense on their finals. As far as the dues on the events, this is the thing. 25 cents has been there for how many years? Several years. Like with everything, we have to keep up. Okay. So I think that I would also be in favor of increasing those. However, I will be willing to say not do it until June, because that way we'll give the affiliates a little bit of time to recover from all this mess that we have right now. Right now, many affiliates are hurting, and so I don't know. I just think that to increase the dues right at this moment, instead of waiting just a few months and see, I think that that will be the best thing, is to wait a little bit on those. But the entry fees, the 3 judges, 3 judges rather than 6, and the 30 and the 25 contestants are my main go-to things here. I think though that, and I guess I'm going to ask Rick, do you know if the 2021 committee has already done the contracts for stock? And of course they have their judges, so I'm assuming that they also did their contracts with the judges.
From what I understand, I can verify it, but yes, they have.
Okay. So it seems like, changing some of these things for 2021 may not be, I mean, I don't know if changing the contestants to 25, for example, if that's going to be a problem for them, since they will have to change the contract for the stock, a contract that is already signed. So that's something that we really need to look at. We don't want to give ASCA a bad name of, going back on their contracts also either. So so that's one thing that we need to look at. And then for the judges, I think 2021 is already set also. I don't think it may not be a good idea to do this for 2021 either. But for 2022, I mean, we have the draw next week. And so I don't know what we want to do for 2022 either. So, but I think those three are my main options. And so I think that's all I got. I think that I'll shut up now. Jean, you had something?
Yeah, I just wanted to share that this discussion right now about the costs as far as entry fees and the event membership dues is like deja vu all over again. I agree that we shouldn't, the board probably should not raise the event membership dues until June, because I believe that the affiliates should, have a chance to recover and stuff. But back when this first happened, that these changes were made, Gina was right. Then some other, I think maybe Rachel and Jan might have touched on it. The point is that we were hoping to get a surplus so that we could do a payback. And it is in the rules right now that there is a payback from, and I don't even know if we get donations anymore for contestant payback for stock. But if there's anything, in that, I know that Central Valley was always really good about donating to that every year. Coast did it for a while. So, it didn't amount to much most times, but whatever. Anyhow. But as far as the entry fees are concerned, the contestants themselves have supported this move. They've supported it for as long as I can remember, quite honestly. And at the time that these changes were made, and the contestants said, we'd really like to continue to pay more. We'd like to pay more on our event membership dues. The board was like, no. And then now here we are, right? With not enough money. Or I mean, we have enough money, but we're obviously we're not doing what we were hoped we would do. And so I hear us saying, well, yeah, we should raise them. But maybe not that much. 2 runs of stock at a normal stock trial are going to cost you. I mean, I get, obviously it's regional. I want to say at my club's trial coming up, I'm trying to think what the cattle fee is, but it's going to be somewhere around $140 for 2 runs. So, and honestly, I liked Rachel's suggestion that we go back to 2013 fees for the other programs, but I don't believe that stock should be under $100 entry fee for any of the classes of stock, and that's just me. So if the contestants themselves have said that this is a reasonable accommodation and something that they don't mind, a burden they don't mind shouldering, I'm all for it. And I just, I realize that we as a board don't want to put that burden on them, but if they're willing to help us out this way, help ASCA out, help themselves out, maybe this time we should just listen a little better. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Liz, can I say something? This is Denise.
Hold on, because Rachel had
Oh, sorry.
raised her hand first. So then after her, I'll let you speak. Okay.
Sure.
Rachel.
You know, I don't disagree. I was trying to keep it fair by going back to 2013 levels, and the Stockdog committee, they've worked really hard to provide what we asked for. And so I really believe we're drawing judges next week. I believe that this board has the authority to say we're going to cut it from 6 judges to 3. I believe that's a change that we can make right now. I believe we can change the fees. I do agree that the event fees to the affiliate should wait until next June. But I believe that there's 2 things that we can do immediately. Is if the Stockdog folks want to pay the proposed fees to enter stock, by all means allow them to. But we could go back to the 2013 levels for all events, and that would make it a little bit more fair across the board. And the reason I said 50 cents increase in stock event, I mean in the event fees, and that's throughout all the programs. I was trying to even it out a little bit because the stock folks are going to be paying more in entries for their stock. So the last time I spoke with the course director for 2021, they had not signed the contract, the stock contracts, because they were awaiting the board's determination about what stock was going to be. So I believe that we could ask them if they've done that, and I believe that cutting to 25 would be an immediate decrease in stock numbers, as well as not a lot of cost, but it would decrease the stock numbers. So we may want to check with the course director to determine if those contracts had been signed. So that's what I wanted to add. I really don't want to postpone this to 2022. We asked the Stockdog committee for a specific cost-cutting plan. They provided it. We need to act on it. Thank you.
Denise?
So I was just going to have a couple comments to Jean and now Rachel too. So I think that the board does have the authority because we pay for the finals to be able to say this is a necessity and that we are going to change down to 3 judges. I think that the other fees can be effective June 1 because that is the beginning of the next year. It's also, I believe that's before the letters for the finals go out. Is that when do the letters for the finals go out? Jean, do you remember?
July
The letters
1st.
go out July 1st.
Yeah.
July 1st.
So I think all the other changes should be effective July or June the 1st, effective for the 2021 Nationals. That gives those people a month to decide if they can add, more to their fees, whatever, especially since they've already discussed it. They'll know that well ahead. When we talk about this right now, they'll know right now at the end of this meeting, and it goes into the minutes, that these changes are being made for June. So I don't think that raising the affiliate numbers to the 50 cents and then the stock higher, I don't think that's a problem. And I don't think the entry fee for the Stockdog classes and all the other finals venues either would be a problem to start that. And as far as your stock contract itself, even if it's a signed contract, you're only talking 25 head if my math is right. Is that right? It's 25 head for 5 people.
That's correct.
So, well, it's a little different, I guess, because my guy just came out and says, yep, I'll bring that many. And then I called him and says, well, we don't have the entries. And so we'd like to reduce from 160 to 110. He says, all right, good. See you then. So Stockdog people are usually not quite as affected by changes as some other people might be. So I think if you came to them right now and said, you know what, we need to reduce it by 25 head because the entries have changed, I don't think that would be a problem, even if the contract has been signed, and we certainly could ask them. And the payback issue. Central Valley has always contributed money to the finals, the Stockdog finals, and to the Stockdog exhibitor payback with 2 separate checks, each one labeled for each item. And I talked to Ray about this one time. I said, people don't even know about the payback, exhibitor payback. It used to be a big thing, but now nothing is ever said about it. And I thought that it should be promoted. I said, why don't you promote this? Talk about what it's for, what it is, and how it's done, and that we need people to volunteer, send donations for that. So that is something. If we're going to want to do a payback, it does need to be promoted. But anyway, that's my 3 cents worth. Sorry. Thanks, Liz.
Thanks, Denise. I got one more comment from Gina.
Sorry, had to find the unmute. As far as the payback, I want to see it for all programs, not just stock, and it is something that we could promote. I think that changing from 6 judges to 3 judges halfway through the program year is not a good idea. And I think that needs a lot more discussion. I'm all for increasing the finals entries fees across the board, but that's about it. I don't think we should be changing to 3 judges for 2021. That's all I have.
Liz, this is Judy.
Go ahead, Judy.
Well, Gina, for one thing, we can't change it for 2021 because the judges have already been drawn. But we need to change it now because we're drawing judges for 2022 next week. So if we don't change it to 3 judges now for the 2022, we won't be changing it till 2023, which now we've gone another 3 years before we have that kind of saving. So I agree with you. We cannot change it for 2021, but we can change it now for 2022 and further on.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks, Judy. I agree. Like I said, I agree with the entry fees being raised, and I think if we made them whatever the amount is effective June 1st, I think that would be good. And the same thing with the membership dues. I mean, like I said, I mean we've had it at 25 cents for so long. I think that it's due to be increased. So I think if we do that by June 1st, that'll be great. And so the 3 judges, I agree with Gina and Judy that we really shouldn't change it for 2021. They have already been contracted, they have been drawn and all of that stuff. But we could consider doing it for 2022. And if we do that, then that has to be done probably today, because I think that it should be done before the draw. The 30 to 25, if we change that for 2021, I'm not sure. See, this is my conundrum here. I'm not sure that counts as administrative. And so I'm not sure that we can change it for 2021 change it before to be effective before June 1st. I mean, those of you who are more, have more experience with this can tell me if you think it's administrative or not. But I have a little bit of doubt of whether that counts as administrative or not, because the year is already, a few months through, and all these contestants have been competing with the idea that there's going to be 30 finalists. And so I don't know. I don't know about that. I think that we can probably change the 3 judges for 2022, and we can certainly do the changes for the entry fees and the membership dues to be made effective on June 1st. The 25 contestants, I'm not sure we can do for 2021. I think for sure we can do them for 2022. That's where I'm at. So I don't know if you guys want to make motions or discuss this a little more or what, but we need to like kind of like get a direction here. So I will say that if you guys want to at least change the entry fees and the dues effective June 1st, 2021, we could do that tonight. We just have to make sure we figure out if we go with the numbers that the Stockdog committee, provided, or and the dues and the 3 judges for 2022. I think those will be legal.
Who do you, this is Carol.
Go ahead, Carol.
So I think that we, I agree with everybody. I mean, with Gina and you, that we are contracted already with the judges for 2021. We can't change that. I think we would be in a bad way. But on the changing from the 25 to the 30, you said you didn't think that was administrative. So one thing I will say is that, like I believe it was in Bakersfield, we didn't even have 25 runs of cattle. Like, so there were less qualifiers that attended than there were. I mean, we didn't even fill the 30. And I don't think it's a big hardship, or if we change it, we're not even halfway through the event year yet. And with COVID, there's been a lot fewer events. So I think we have a lot less people that impacted if we change it now from 30 to 25, and it would give us that stock reduction that would help a little bit, and it would help in the budget a little bit. And we have plenty of time to talk to our contractors. But when you said you didn't think it was administrative, I was wondering whose responsibility do you think it is? I guess I have no idea, but
Liz, this is Judy. I'll answer that one.
Okay, Judy, go ahead.
It's always been the program committees who designate how many dogs are in the finals, in what category and in what way. So we could ask the Stockdog committee to change their rule book, to go ahead and make a motion, change it, and that way it could be in effect for 2021. But that would have to be something they would have to do. We can tell them, we agree with you, we think it's great, go for it. The rest of it, I agree with you, is administrative. They would not, because they don't designate how much. It's possible they would have to change the judges also, because that's in the rule book, how many judges and how they're drawn. But either way, we could vote definitely for the amounts that we want to go into effect for entries and for the affiliate. And then we could vote to recommend they change to 3 judges and that they change to 25 runs, but it would have to come from a program committee.
Yeah, I think that Judy's definition is correct. I mean, that's the difference between something that's administrative. Administrative stuff, the board can do all the time, but the stuff that changes program rules, the rule book in some way, is not considered administrative because it changes the rules of engagement, so to speak, for that competition year. And so so that's, I think that, like I said, we could go ahead with the entry fees, with the dues, and maybe we could do like Judy suggested, to make a motion to request that the SDC looks at the changing the 3 to 3 judges and changing the number of rounds or the number of contestants to 25. The thing about it is, like I said, if we're gonna draw for 2022 next week. So I don't know. I don't know. I just don't feel entirely comfortable with that. Anyway, I got Jean wants to make a comment real quick.
Sorry.
And if we continue, sorry, we continue to making comments like that, I'm gonna have to go around again because this is getting crazy. Go ahead, Jean.
I will just say that I disagree about administrative or not administrative. And the reason I say that is because there's not a change to the program rules. The qualifying period is the same. The number of points are the same. The way you earn the points are all the same. Everything is the same, except for we're just reducing the number of people that actually get to go to finals. And you know, I'll agree with Carol's point, and having been to several nationals where the stock didn't fill, you know, I guess taking 5 competitors out will reduce the number of stock to a certain degree. So for what it's worth, in my opinion, the board has absolutely the right to reduce the number of competitors in a particular program. You know, the committees are our experts, and this is actually one of their recommendations that they gave us. So I feel like it would be something that we would just be following up on. And that's all I have to say. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Okay, Rachel, you're next. And then I think somebody may have I think Gina may have a motion to make.
Liz, okay, so which is the lesser of the evils? Postponing, choosing judges next week, and giving the Stockdog committee an opportunity to go back and change their rules, which would take them 2 months, or taking their recommendation, which they have given to us, and the board, which owns finals, and we own all the costs associated with finals, to say, okay, we're cutting the judges. We're going to make an emergency motion to cut the judges per the Stockdog committee's recommendation to 3. And I absolutely agree with Jean. What she just said. They have given us a proposal to cut it to 25 entries. And I believe we're well within our rights to make that decision. And it's not like the first motion that we put forward cutting the stock. We have went back to them now and said, hey guys, give us your thoughts, give us your recommendations. They've given it to us, and I believe this board can put it into effect, and I believe it can be used, the 25 entries, for the 2021 finals. We cannot affect the judges for 2021. Those contracts have already been done. But reducing the stock by 25 head at any point in time, we may have needed to do that anyway if we didn't have the correct entries. So I believe it's well within the rights of the board to take the Stockdog committee's recommendation for the 25 entries and cutting the judges to 3 for 2022. And since we're going to draw next week, it is imperative that we act upon cutting the judges. Now, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so Gina, you had something?
Yes, I thought I would go ahead and get the ball rolling and make a motion to increase the Stockdog, or to increase all finals entries. The agility would be 80, confirmation 75, obedient 75, juniors 0, rally 75, and then the stock be $100 for ducks, and then what was it for? I think 150 for cattle and 120 for sheep.
Right.
I'll
I
second.
agree.
This is Jean.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Gina and seconded by Jean.
Do we need an
to-
effective date?
Yes, we need an
Yeah, I was
effective
gonna
date.
say effective date.
Oh,
June
upon,
1st?
well, can we change it for this year's finals?
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
then it would be
Yes.
upon board approval.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Gina and seconded by Jean to increase the entry fees for finals as per the SDC recommendations, and that will be effective for well, as soon as the board approves. Any further discussion?
Do you want to add the affiliate fees and that in the same motion or a
No,
separate motion?
Nope.
No, we want them all separate.
These
Separate
yeah,
motion.
these are gonna have to be a whole bunch of motions.
Right, okay, that's
have
good.
to be separate. Yep. So, okay, any further discussion on this one? Okay, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Rick abstains.
Rick abstains. Motion carries. Okay,
Yeah.
next one, I assume we have a next one?
On the affiliate fees,
Yes.
I'd like to make a
Affiliate?
motion. Yeah, the fees paid by affiliate, the per run fees,
Right.
The event fees, yeah.
yes. Raised, as per the Stockdog Committee recommendation, 50 cents across the board, except for stock, which would be raised by $1 to $1.25.
Effective
Upon
date.
effective date, upon board approval.
No,
That one we want to do June 1st.
July,
June
June 1st.
2021.
June 1st.
June
June.
1st.
And wasn't it
Okay.
$1.50?
Is a dollar. They had one on there for $2, and then they had another one for $1, just to raise it $1, which is $1. So let's do $1.50 then, because yeah, it's $1 higher than the others. So $1.50, sorry, for stock. 50
Okay.
cents.
Okay, did you catch all that, Kala? Can you read that back to us? And then we'll need a second also.
Sure, it was a motion by Denise to raise the fees paid by the affiliates, which is the additional event membership dues, per the Stockdog Committee's recommendation to 50 cents for all programs and stock to $1.50, effective June 1, 2021.
Right, thank you, Kala.
This is Jean. I'll second.
Okay, motion by Denise, seconded by Jean. You heard it from Kala. Any further discussion?
Yes, ma'am, this is Rachel.
Yes, go ahead, Rachel.
I really would not like to raise stock by $1.25. They've got it raised by $1 from 25 cents to $1.25, because $1.50 for our affiliates, that could be a lot of money. And this is just for finals. And there are so many people that do not run for finals. The majority of our members do not. So I can see raising it $1, but not $1.25. That would be $1.50 per entry. That's just too much, in my opinion. So I'll vote against it, but you guys can vote for it.
This is
Well-
Jean. I like round numbers. Maybe Denise, we can change it to just like an even dollar. I don't know.
Well, their recommendation was to raise it by $1, which would have made it $1.25, or to raise it by $2 or to $2. Those were their two choices on their option. So I'm good with $1.25, which is $1 more than it is now.
How do you feel about that, Rachel?
I'm good with that. That was their recommendation. because ultimately this goes back to our affiliates, and I don't want the affiliates to suffer any more than they are already.
Correct.
I'm
yeah.
good with $1.25. I'll vote for that.
Okay, so
Okay.
you changed it to $1.25, Denise?
Yes, that's good with me. Thanks,
Yep,
Rachel.
good with me.
Okay. All right. So
Thanks, Katie.
any further discussion now? Okay, I'm
Are
gonna
we
call for-
raising it $1 or $1.25?
We're raising it
to
$1.25.
$1.25.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Perfect.
Okay, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Judy,
Any abstentions?
Rick abstains.
All right, motion carries. We got two, okay. Any other motions?
This is Rachel. I would be, I would make a motion on reducing the entries to 25 if the board would support that tonight.
I will second it. This is Gina.
Okay.
I
Okay.
support it.
Okay.
Okay, so effective date, as soon as upon board approval or another date?
We could reduce
It
them for
would
this
have-
year.
Well, I'm just
Yeah, it
asking
is.
Rachel what she wants to do with the motion.
Right.
Right. Well, this needs to be in effect for 2021.
Okay,
Okay.
so upon approval.
So-
Board approval.
Right. And so it's going to be upon board approval.
Okay, gotcha.
Because it will affect the number of contestants this year in order to go into effect in 2021.
Yes. Okay,
Okay.
As per recommendation of the committee.
Yes, absolutely.
okay. So we have a motion on the floor by Rachel,
All right,
seconded by
would-
Gina.
All right. Would you like for me to call out the motion, Callum?
Yeah,
Okay. I make a motion per the recommendation of the Stockdog Committee to decrease the entries from 30 to 25 in all classes of stock for the 2021 finals. And this will be effective upon board approval. And further, the Stockdog Committee will need to update the rule book to take into effect this change.
are
okay,
you
so,
changing?
okay, you said for the 2021 nationals, and that would be perhaps
Finals.
understood. Yeah, I'm sorry, finals. That would almost be understood as it's only 2021. So I think that we're changing the number in general, and it's effective upon approval. So therefore, it would affect 2021. See what I'm
That
saying?
is correct. I was just being precise because we know that 2021 is the next finals that is before us.
So it will be starting with the 2021.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Can you read that back to us, Kala, real quick?
Yeah, motion by Vest per recommendation of the Stockdog Committee to decrease the entries from 30 to 25 in all classes of stock, starting with the 2021 finals, effective immediately. Further, the Stockdog Committee will need to update the rulebook to take into effect this change.
Great. Thanks, Kala. All right. Any further discussion?
Who was the second on that?
Gina.
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 Any further discussion? Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Rick opposed.
I vote for it. I didn't get unmuted in time.
Okay. Any abstentions? I will abstain on this one because I'm still not sure. Okay, motion carries. All right. Any other motions? Are we doing?
I would like to make the motion to reduce the number of Stockdog judges to 3, starting with the 2022 finals, per the recommendation of the Stockdog Committee.
This is Rachel. I'll second.
Okay, so motion by Judy and seconded by Rachel to reduce the number of judges for the Stockdog committee, for the Stockdog finals, from 6 judges to 3 per the recommendation from the SDC, starting with the 2022 finals. Any further discussion? Okay, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Gina,
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
No.
Rick said no, and who else?
Jean
Gina,
And Gina said no.
and Jean.
Okay, yeah,
and Jean.
okay. So Gina, Rick,
And Jean.
Jean.
yes, said no, and so will I. I'll say no. I just think this should go back to the committee, but whatever. Anyway, the motion carries. Anything else? I think we're done, right? At least for the things that we wanted to accomplish today.
I think so. Great job, Liz.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you
guys.
all.
Thank you.
Good night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.